And we're live. Hello, everybody.
Hello and happy fall, everyone.
Happy fall.
We are now finally there, and we're starting to see some good fall weather here.
And we're both starting to feel like it's fall because we both
got a virus. I got it and passed it on to Paul, and I'm at the end of it, and he's in the thick of it. But he didn't get it as badly as I had it.
No.
I don't know why that always happens, but I don't know.
I have a stronger immune system.
Maybe that's why.
But, so, my voice is a little jacked up, and I'll try to do my best to hide the microphone if I need to cough, because it's coffee time. Yeah.
Well, good to see you guys on here. Today we're going to be painting an autumn raven, which I designed to go with our autumn owl painting, which I think it was that last year that we did that one, or was it the year before?
It might have been the year before.
Things kind of blend together. I realized happy 5-year anniversary to us for the company. Yeah, for doing the live streams. We were
September
Gogh
2019. Yeah.
We were Gogh Art Crate, and now we're Palette Knives Out Art Cast. Once we stopped offering the subscription boxes, which they kind of died out when COVID was not part of the equation anymore. I understand why. People want to get out and do stuff.
Can I just take a second?
Maybe.
I want to apologize.
Okay.
I want to apologize to how inattentive we have been to the Palette Knives Out Art Cast for the last month or so.
Yeah.
We have been extremely busy.
Don't ever volunteer for a nonprofit.
Yeah, yeah.
Just kidding. It will suck your life away.
My own business has been taking a lot of my attention lately. Things have not been going very well, but we're working on that. I'm not too worried about it, but it has definitely taken a bit of my own personal commitment getting back on track on things. The nonprofit's taking a lot of time.
Hi, Marlene. Good to see you. Thank you.
One of the things that we didn't get an email out because we're in the process of switching over to the Palette Knives Out Artcast website. So you'll probably get one email maybe tomorrow about this weekend. We're gonna do one more live stream. And
try to squeeze one in.
It'll come from GoBox, but it'll direct you to the Palette Knives Out, and for going forward, it will come from the Palette Knives Out website.
Yeah.
And it was kind of funny because, like, I told Jenny, I was like, "Oh yeah, I've got the Palette Knives Out website all set up," and then when we looked at it, it's like, "Oh no, I don't." So, but we've got it pretty close to done, and it's live. So if you want to go to paletknivesout.com, you can see it is there, and you might need to sign up for a new account. No, if you guys have already on the email list, you'll be getting it. So we're good there. I'm rambling.
Quit rambling.
My brain is on a fog. So
go ahead and zoom in on our painting.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So happy Thursday, happy fall. We have decided to do a raven. I've been wanting to do one for a while, and I was gonna paint the background a different color. Paul suggested purple, and then I just thought, you know what? I just recently taught the autumn owl in a live class, and I thought these two are laid out very similar, so it would be fun to just match them up together if you want to. If not, a purple background would be really cool actually with this.
I know that a group of crows is called a murder. Is a group of ravens also called a murder?
That I don't know. You'll have to Google that.
I will Google it.
So let's talk about our paint colors. Acrylic paint, you don't need a whole lot of each color. Tonight we're using black and white. We have our process yellow, cyan, magenta, and yellow ochre. These are very similar to just the primary colors plus yellow ochre, which is a great color to have on just about any palette.
They are called an unkindness.
Oh yeah, an unkindness, that's right. So these are the colors that we're using. And you can see I tried to get that sort of iridescent effect that ravens and crows have.
You know what sucks is I actually have some iridescent acrylic paint at home in a tube. It's like pearlescent that you just paint on over.
Very cool.
And it would have been nice to have used it.
Cheers, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started.
Let's do it.
Brushes, I'm using our 4-pack of the Princeton brushes, which are great for what we're doing, but if you just have your own variety of sizes, anything goes. Just about anything goes with painting. The colors, different brushes.
Fingers, thumbs, corners of your paint shirt.
Let's pick up a medium-sized brush to start. I'm picking up the number 8. It's about a 1/4 inch wide and flat. Go ahead and dip it in your water cup, swish it across the bottom, loosen up the bristles, and then dry it off. To start, we're going to sketch the raven out, and we're going to sketch it in a light color so that we can easily make corrections and we can easily paint the background around it without too much trouble. But before we actually paint the raven, I want to paint the branch on.
You could probably move that.
Yeah, I'll move this over.
Just don't knock it on the floor this time.
Oh, yeah. It's expensive. Okay, so go ahead and let's mix white and yellow ochre or whatever you have that's similar. You just want a light color. This is not the color that the raven is going to be, but this is a similar color to what we lay out in the background. And let's go ahead and paint the branch on. So the bottom of the branch, the bottom line of the branch is, I'm just looking at the original, it's about 4 to 5 inches up from here. So just about 4 inches or so, make a mark. And then we're just gonna slightly dip down. This branch sort of dips down a little bit and comes back up. And it can go up a little higher on this side or lower, it doesn't matter. And now we're gonna make a couple marks here. I want you to jump up from here just a little over an inch and make a mark. And then on this one, it's just about an inch. So it's a little, what I'm planning on is the tree trunk is over here somewhere. So the branch is gonna be thicker here and then it just gradually gets thinner out there. So let's go ahead and parallel your tree line or your first line as you're getting along here. Just get closer and closer to that bottom line so that you line up there somewhere. Lots of chances to re-establish this tree branch so you're not stuck or locked in with what you have right now. And now let's go ahead and look at our raven.
This particular beverage is really pretty nasty, but I'm gonna drink it anyway.
Yuck. So he's just maybe a tiny bit off center. You could put him dead center, but he's just maybe a tiny bit right of center. And the head itself is really only about 2 inches from the top of the canvas where the top of the head starts. But I did create a little plume there. So let's drop down. Let's come right in about here. So just a little right of center. Drop down about 2.5 to 3 inches, right about there. Make a mark. And what we're going to draw first is an oval about the size of a large chicken egg. So it's kind of, they have kind of flat heads underneath all that, underneath all that plumage, I guess. And we're going to build on that. So then what I do, pretty easy, I actually just make what would be the shoulders. And when I first painted this, I made it way too skinny. So I kept building out.
So you're painting me.
Yeah. So you can make it skinnier to start with and then plan on building it out when you add the black in. And then for the tail, they just kind of have this fan-like tail. The crows have a flat tail. It goes like kind of straight across, and ravens have this sort of fan-shaped tail. So just sketch it in. It's easy to put back in there with black later. And their beak is fairly large, and it comes out right here, and it just sort of hooks down. It's like a mini toucan beak.
Kind of reminds me of the Muppet, the eagle.
Yeah, it's just going to come back, and it's going to meet right about here at the chin. So just take your time, sketch it in. I'm using the thin edge of the brush.
It's kind of smug looking.
Yeah, very easy to reshape that.
Kind of looks like a banana.
Yeah, I guess so. And then I'm going to connect this to here, because they really don't have a neck. And then this to here.
Now you tell us.
Yeah, so we get rid of that little gap there. And I feel like that's a pretty good raven shape, or crow. The photo I referenced was actually a crow, but I turned it into a raven because I liked the pose and the colorization and the highlights on it. So I used that as sort of inspiration. But it was a crow, and I just did some extra things that I knew ravens had differently and changed it on up. Okay, let's wash that brush off. We're going to paint in the background now. And I used quite a lot of yellow in this one, probably a little more yellow than I used in that autumn owl painting. And yellow, white, yellow ochre, and a little magenta is what I used to, this is just suggesting leaves in the background. That is all that is. So there's little blurry blobs that are kind of suggesting leaves. I have it pretty yellow around the bird itself. Let's go ahead and take our biggest brush, dip it in your water cup, blot it dry on your towel.
I apologize for the sound effects, everybody.
Go ahead and dip right in the yellow, and let's get some of that brightness right on there. And my brush strokes is just sort of a dabbing motion. And I think what I'm going to do is just go around the bird itself with little dabby bits of yellow. So he's almost like outlined with a thick band of yellow. It really helps the whole thing kind of glow nicely. And if you accidentally paint into your bird, no problem, that's going to be covered up with black. Black will pretty much wipe out any other thing underneath.
It's true.
And yes, he has a very flat head right now. We will give him awesome plumage in just a bit. So just a loose light coat. One thing I'm going to do down here is I'm actually going to come up, so I'm using the thin edge of my brush. I'm going to come up in little streaks like this and build the tail out over that later, because sometimes I like to leave little gaps with the tail feathers. And you can't really do that as well if you've left the background white.
You're killing me, Schmalls.
What? How? Going too fast?
No.
Is it too fast for you, Paul?
No, maybe.
Okay, so yeah, my bird looks really thin right now. That's exactly what happened when I first put it together.
I have to slow things down to be able to process them.
And so yeah, I will beef him up a bit later, because right now he's looking on the thin side. I do want this to kind of taper down just a bit. And now I'm going to play around with the color. So I might take a little white and just dab it in with the yellow as I get out away from the bird, so I've got lighter color to play around with. And you can bring some of this in close to the bird so it doesn't look so much like a harsh outline. This works great if everything is wet at the same time.
What color?
It's just white. I kind of dabbed some white in with the yellow here. So your color should be very much like butter, actually.
Parquet.
I've been working on, well, Paul and I both have been working on some paintings for a show that opens next month.
Same show we did last year.
Yeah, we each get to do 4 paintings, and they have to follow a continuous theme, but you can be any theme you want. So Paul's doing a...
I'm cheating.
What is you're doing, it's like a beach scene, right?
It's not a beach scene. It's kind of like a river.
Woodsy river scene.
Yeah, it's actually going to have a raven on it, so...
Is it?
Yeah.
That's new. Are you inspired by this?
No, that's been my plan for over a year.
So I have done 4 animals, and I'm finishing them up already, which is nice. That makes me feel good and ahead of the game.
I should be done this weekend.
I've got a fox, a bear, an owl, and a wolf. I really love the way the wolf turned out. I'll show you a picture of it in a minute.
Well, I assume we'll post pictures on the...
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to grab a little of my yellow ochre and dab that in there. And you can put that in, blob it in. Nice technical term there. We're going to blob that in while everything is still wet. If your paint is drying really fast, you can kind of refresh your yellow a little if needed.
We had an interesting week weather-wise.
Yeah.
We had 90 degrees on Tuesday and then 60 degrees on Wednesday.
Now you can bring some of this darker color in here so it kind of is almost in like a little halo area. Or you can think of it like the sunlight is over here, and that's exactly what I did, so I kept it pretty light over there. I accidentally smeared into my raven on this one side as I was building it. There was a lot of going back and forth. There was a fox under that painting originally, and I wiped it out, and it became this one. I got inspired by my fox painting and realized there's really... It almost has to be dumbed down too much to be taught in an hour, so I was thinking it was ending up a little too cartoon-like than I wanted it to be. So I was like, I actually want to paint big old blackbird. So this part over here is easy to do. We're just using yellow and white. This is still wet, and I want to work with that. And that is where I will take just a tiny dab of my magenta paint and start dabbing it in. Look how my brush, I'm kind of twisting it and pulling it around. One thing you can do is you can kind of pull little spiky shapes out. So it could look like Japanese maple leaves.
Could look like any maple leaves this time of year.
Yeah.
Sweet gum.
Now you're throwing out the fancy terms.
I think that's what the bright red trees on our street are.
Oh, that could be. Now you can play around with how much you add. If I'm going to add in more vivid or darker colors, I tend to go with the corners because it helps frame in the painting nicely, but then it also, you can figure out right away if you're using too much pigment and you need to tone it down a little bit. And it's easy to fix up a corner than it is to fix up an area right around the bird. So put as much of this magenta in here, or whatever, red, whatever you're using, as you like. And everything can be glazed over and lightened up pretty easily. I might give the hint of a few bits. Okay, well, we're going to do more than a hint. Because I realized too late that this part's pretty dry.
Oh, no.
So what I would do in this situation, which you might encounter occasionally, is you can take your
Just mix some
yellow
right
and
in
white,
there.
just a little bit, kind of work it in around and on top of.
Sorry about that, everybody. That was bad.
And this is wet, so I've got a lot of wet magenta paint that's kind of in the way, and sometimes it's actually a little easier to let any big, vibrant, wet spots dry just a little bit before you try to cover them up, because otherwise you're just continuously smearing and smearing and smearing. The other thing I could do, and I do this all the time at home, today a painting I was working on ended up with a big streak of red over the neck of the person I was painting. That was fun. But I actually just took a paper towel and dabbed it off. You can do that while it's still wet. So then I would take my yellow and white.
My apologies.
And dab that. Now you can see how it's much softer. And this is where if I wanted to filter some sunlight through here, I'm just dabbing white in there. Sort of confetti-like. So you know how the sun kind of just like dapples its way through forest leaves? That's the look I'm trying to go for here. You can bring a little over here. A little sun-dappled forest. I like that word, sun-dappled. Easy peasy background, and can continuously be built upon and changed up and added to. The one thing I don't love about mine is I feel like there's like this line where nothing over here and then suddenly right here. So I think I'm going to bring a little bit of magenta over the top of the head here, just so it's not such a straight line of leaves on this side, not on this side. Maybe bring a few in closer to the body, and sometimes I'll overlap into the body because
we're going to paint over
it'll look more fluid that way. If it looks like you tried to avoid going further, it'll be noticeable in the background. So I just kind of bring it into the bird. I can still see the outlines of where I need to go, and I need to make him chunkier anyway. I'm getting excited for next month. Although I hope it comes up a little slower because our nonprofit, we're putting on the Rocky Horror Show we seat 280 people a night. And we're all feeling a little on edge because it's a lot of anxiety getting ready for such a big production. when we are such a small organization with not a huge amount of volunteers.
I just had somebody volunteer today for the tech. To
Oh,
help
that's
with
great.
Tech. I haven't emailed them back yet.
Oh, better get on that. We don't want to lose them. Did that come in on our website thing?
Just somebody reached out, like used
Chat.
the no, just email form.
Great. Okay, let's see. What do I want to do next?
Take a nap.
Yes, let's take a nap. Good night, everybody.
I am hitting a wall.
Already?
Yeah, it's been a long day.
This painting actually is pretty simple. Doesn't require a huge amount of
We have had
excess skill.
we have had a chaotic week, honestly.
We have, yeah.
We've had both of our vehicles decided to
Break down.
but I was able to fix both of them for a combined total of $47.
They were-
Neither of which were actually wanting to get us to our destinations, and it were just simple things.
Yeah. There were simple breakdowns that were all computer related, like, oh, the sensors, oh, the spark plug's slightly loose. So
Yeah,
jiggle it around
Jenny
a
had
little.
a spark plug wire that was loose, and I had. Now, to be fair, my truck is 19 years old and has 170,000 miles, so it wasn't like an unexpected thing, but.
It's a little dried red.
But a combination
blob
of
on there.
that and being sick
Oops.
and doctor's appointments and all kinds of
Yeah, it's been a
just
busy
stuff.
week, and it's not even the end of the week, but it's almost the end of the week.
Yeah, and then our weekend just gets going. Oh, and Monday was our son's birthday,
Yep, he turned 24.
and so
No longer my baby boy. Okay, now quit talking.
no.
We're going to make a natural tree color that's kind of gray, kind of dark grayish brown. One of my favorite ways to make a dark brown with this palette is to make an orange color first. So you can use yellow and magenta, or you can use yellow ochre and magenta, and then you just gradually add black into it.
Oh, you could add blue.
But it's pretty dark. If you look at it, it's almost black. It's just got a tiny, almost not necessarily brown, more of a charcoal color. But let's do it. Let's go scrape off some of this magenta. Grab a little of this yellow ochre or yellow. Just create kind of an orangish color. Maybe I'll just grab yellow too, and I'll just do both. This is a good warm base, kind of a terracotta color. Now black is going to overpower it real quick, so I just gradually add in a little.
I hear the school buses.
Yeah, we share a parking lot with a company that's a school bus company.
It's a school bus barn for our little community.
For the little community here, it's not our community.
Yeah, that's right. And you know what's really cool is just around the corner is a dog rescue place, and a lot of the bus drivers, after they drop the kids off,
They're just older, retired people.
yeah, most of them are older retired people or
Just looking for something
single-
fun to do. Maybe
single
we should
people.
get them to volunteer for Rocky.
and they get done dropping the kids off at school, and they've got time, and they go over and they volunteer and walk the dogs.
So believe it or not, I'm trying to find the right lighting here. This is a brownish shade. It's not black. As I paint it on here, though, you can see it's looking very black. That's okay. This gets turned into sort of a birch branch, so it's going to start dark. And we add white to it. Now you can use this brush if you want. You can mix a little water with your paint if you want, make it a little more fluid. Or you can switch down a size. I like to use this bigger brush for the middle part, and then I can clean up the outlines with a smaller brush. So just a really simple, not super thick coat. Just get the color on there, and then I'll pick maybe my number 4 brush or the number 8. I picked the number 4 because my number 8's starting to look a little frayed. I think Paul's used it a bunch.
Yep.
And I'll just clean up the edges, but I do want to make them not too smooth. It is like a natural, supposed to be a natural bark-loaded branch. So your lines should purposely be a little wobbly. So you're not just painting this perfectly smooth branch, although I know there are some in nature that are that way.
They have several dogs right now that they're walking that were strays.
Oh.
And they're sweet, sweet, sweet dogs, but have zero manners.
Yeah. Well, our dogs are not strays, and they have zero manners.
No, I mean, these dogs, like, they've not had a lot of human interaction. They're very sweet, and you can tell that they're very happy to have people giving them attention instead of throwing potatoes at them and whatnot.
Aww.
But they have, like, their leash skills are so bad.
Yeah, that's a hard thing, but they, they can be trained.
Yep.
Okay, let me get this cord out. Let's work on the bird now. We're going to let this dry just a bit. Let's have a look at the bird. We're just going to do fill-in so you can see how skinny this one is compared to how I want it to be. And it's especially built out here. These are wings, so the wings are going to be nice and rounded out here. And we're going to build that body. Let's do it. So I like to use my number 8 brush to trace everything, and then I'll probably use this big brush to fill spots in, bigger chunks anyway. So let's go ahead and wash this off. And you don't have to get every little scrap of paint off of it. Black's going to overpower that. Go ahead and refresh your number 8 brush in the water. Pull some of this black aside and stir some of that water from your brush into it. You might even add a little more if needed, if you're working with a really thick acrylic paint. This one's pretty thick actually. And I'm going to go ahead and just trace. I'm purposely going out into the background a little bit, knowing I can gradually build it out more and more. And then the tail is pretty fun to do. You want to line this up right here. And then I'm just using the thin edge of the brush and just pulling it downward. You do want to cover up all the white, but you do want to leave some little gaps. And then remember the tail's a little shorter on the sides. I'll just go ahead and put in like sort of the skeletal structure of the tail. I'm going to start in the middle. So a little shorter on the sides, and then gets longer in the middle. Might even go off the bottom of your canvas. The original did, and this one will too. Ravens are really big. We have a taxidermied one that I bought at a curiosity shop. And it has papers, and it died of natural causes. I think we've mentioned it on here before. It is from Ukraine.
It's legal.
And it is so big. I actually went in and referenced it a little when I was painting this because I wanted to look at the feet. The talons and the feet and the eye.
His name Edgar.
His name's Edgar, yeah. Like Edgar Allan Poe. He sits atop our piano.
And when we play piano too long, he says, "Never more."
Never more. There we go.
I wish
so
we
I
could.
tried not to make it look too ragged, but a little ragged is okay.
I wish we could get him to yell that at the dogs when they destuff the dog bed.
Never more. Let's, before we get too crazy here with filling in, let's go ahead and draw the eye on, because I'm going to leave it white. I'm going to leave it the canvas color for a little bit. Picking up my smallest brush, and the eye is going to be right about here, and it's kind of an oval shape.
There have been so many crows and ravens on the golf course the last week.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Nobody else knows that they're called a murder, though. Like, none of my golfer people.
Yeah, you sent me a video and you said something like, "It's a murder."
I'm always afraid I'm going to hit one.
just go around that eye. It does end up being black later, but we're going to put some little highlights around it so we sort of know where it's at.
I always see him. I'm like, murder was a case that they gave me.
Is that Snoop Dogg or?
Yeah. No. Yes, I think so. Was it Ice Cube?
Oh, I wanted to mention, I'm thinking about Florida with that Hurricane Helene.
Oh, yeah.
There.
That might explain why the marks aren't in.
Yeah, the salt marshes. Yeah.
The marks. Martin,
it's
Mark
Kim
and Kim.
And Mark, not
yeah.
Kim Mark.
I know.
Hopefully, they're doing good, and they said they were out of the zone, but I'm sure like some of their outward winds would be a factor. A lot of rain. Hopefully all is well. We have some family who live in Florida too. Actually got an email from Elizabeth.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. She sent one to the family. You must not be on the list.
You know what? She probably has my old email that I don't have anymore.
Probably. But they're out of the zone. But they, again, will get subsidiary weather from it, if that's the right term. I'm going to turn this because I find that turning my canvas allows me to reach areas a little easier sometimes.
Yeah, I bet she only has my old work email.
Yeah. I'll email her back and give her your new one.
Give my personal one, not the business one.
I didn't know you had a personal one. I only email your business one. Okay. Look at him. He's hanging upside down. He thinks he's a bat. What are you going to paint, Paul? Do you know?
I do.
Very nice and raveny. So I'll take a look at him and see. I'm just looking up on the monitor.
My live stream's going to be on Sunday, by the way.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were planning that.
It's either that or Monday.
We will put a message out. Okay, so just having a look here, and I can see he looks nice and hunched. I could make that even more so by broadening up the shoulders. If you were going to do that, just do it slowly, like one little brush with using the skinny edge of the brush at a time. And the other thing you can do is like down in here, oops, the wings might bump out a little bit. Like, there's lots of little feather patterns involved. He's a fun shape. I like that. I like it.
Like it a lot. So you're saying there's a chance.
So he's just gonna chill, and I've got some of this brown left, and I want to use it before it dries to paint some of the little twiggy branches that we'll use to put leaves on.
Twiggy dee dee.
So you can put as many as you want or as few as you want, and I see I probably have them pointing the wrong direction. If I was
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, if I was planning for my tree to be over here, they technically should go the other way.
They're who's it branches.
I had a sickness this week, so.
Oh, let's forget
Well,
it.
this time around, I will make them the right way. Although this branch is not so thick that it would be like, it's not like vastly different between here and here. It would probably be okay, but let's just be different this time. I'm gonna come down this way. I do like to have some water mixed in with the paint. I know I mention that every time I use the little brush. I put water in the paint because it doesn't hold a lot of moisture. And when you're doing something like this, where you want a longer line, having that moisture in there is really helpful. And then I'm not pushing very hard. I have very light pressure. Just the very tip of the bristles is grazing.
Now you tell me.
The canvas. And You can, if your brush is too loaded up with paint from mixing, you can turn it and pull it like this, and then re-dip the tip of the bristles in. That's very helpful.
I'm doing my best.
And you can add as many of these as you want. I'm probably just gonna maybe stick with the 3 for now, and then maybe after I get the bark on the branch, I might decide to add another 1 or so. Very Halloween looking right now. Sinister little raven. Okay. He's just gonna chill for a minute. I'm just deciding what I want to do. I think I'm going to have us scrape the white on the branch now. So let's have a look. Again, I reversed where my little twigs were, the direction they were going this time around, because technically if the tree trunk is here, they should be going that way. This is just done with white, or actually started with a light gray. So maybe you still have some of this left. If not, just use black and mix some white into it, or if you want to make some more of your brown, you can. But I am going to clean my brush off real quick, grab a little white, and dab it in there. Maybe a little black so it's a little more on the gray side. And then I'm going to add a little yellow ochre in there. So that's a nice natural color. I don't even know what I'd call it. It's just got some streaks of this yellow ochre in there. I'm going to wipe my brush off a little bit on the towel before I start here. And I'm going to start way over here. Just line up the edge of the brush and then drag this down. And see how I'm slightly curving it? And I'm not pushing very hard, because if you push really hard, you're going to get a lot of paint on here. And for this effect, let me zoom in, we want less paint, because we're going to come back and add some white too. So this is just a base layer. I've seen videos where people do this with like an old credit card.
Oh, that works great. Or a palette knife.
The only thing with the old credit cards, I don't know if you can actually curve it as much.
Nah.
So just be careful where your raven is, because you can easily drag some black down in here, but that's not going to be a huge big deal, because we're already working with gray.
Well, and they have those, like, they do have like black little speckles and stuff.
Yeah, and you can see I'm not really going all the way to the bottom, because we're going to shade up on the bottom anyway. Our light source is the sun, and it's just hitting the top of this branch. Let me zoom out as I complete the rest of it. So the key here, not a ton of paint on your brush and not heavy pressure. You want to leave some of the brush strokes so you're seeing some of the dark brown pull through in some areas. The twigs stay the dark color, so we don't have to worry about those guys. But I'll go ahead and I'm going to see. Get you out of the way. I'm going to wipe my brush off so that I have not a lot of paint on it. I'm going to grab some white and stir it into half of this so we have a lighter color. Really pale. Quite a few shades lighter than that. Oops, I'm off camera, sorry. Quite a few shades lighter than that, so you've got, it's like a...
Is that fly there?
Oh my gosh, I go behind my glasses.
It's the worst. It's...
Ugh, pesky.
Like, it doesn't bother me.
Did it go in my eyelashes?
I don't see it.
I felt like it flew right into my eyelashes.
My neighbor Mark popped in yesterday, and that fly was all over him.
It's like a fruit fly.
No, this was like a regular fly.
Oh, this is like a little gnat, like a plant gnat or something. Okay, so go ahead now, and very, very light pressure, very small amount of paint. So this is what we did before. We did our base layer of dark, then we did our medium highlight, which was this color, And now we're doing what I call our ultra highlight, so the brightest highlight in lighter. Just a quick little flick and not a lot of paint or pressure.
Is there a swish?
A swish and a flick.
I've been watching Harry Potter out in the garage.
How funny.
Greta got mad at me.
Why?
Because they wanted to watch Harry Potter at Christmas time. I'm like,
oh, funny.
We can watch it then too.
Okay, let me zoom out just a couple clicks. There we go. It needs some more stuff done to it, but for now, it's going to sit and dry while we work on the bird. Clean.
The bird is the word.
Go ahead and clean your brushes off. And we're going to put some really fun highlights on this bird. I'm going to see if I saved the OG photo that I got inspiration from. That was, I told you it was a crow. Let's just see if I saved it. Would be right around. Yep, I did. Yay! So I really liked this one, how it's got the, come on, there we go. See those light feathers on the chest? Very cool. Let's have a look at the beak. So the beak is kind of grayish. And again, I believe this is a crow just based on how the tail is really blunted off there. But it looks like they have some similarities to their face. Ravens have this under this little flick of feathers under here. You really see it when they're kind of spread out more, maybe flying. And then they have a little more of a tuft on the top of their head.
Speaking of Harry Potter, do we get to paint the Ravenclaw?
I guess so. We are going to paint Ravenclaws. And yeah, that's another thing is looking at pictures of crows, they have kind of light feet. You can see right there. And the ravens seem to have black or dark gray legs and feet. But I thought that was a really, really cool lighting with this. And while I've got it on here, I'll show you my wolf I painted. There it is. I really was happy with the way that turned out.
You guys, I'm getting really excited for October.
Okay, let's do this. Okay, what was I going to do first?
I don't know, but I want to throw this heads up. October, because of Rocky, we might be doing our live streams again on Thursdays.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the schedule works out, because it's 2 weekends in October that it's like a show Friday, a show Saturday, a show Sunday.
Yeah.
Right smack in the middle. Okay, let's pick up our number 4 brush. You can use your number 8, but I feel like number 4 is going to be a good choice for this. Dip it in the water, add a drop of water to your black, and we're going to create the bits of feathers that come under the chin. Now this, maybe practice a little bit on your palette.
Marlene says the wolf is fantastic.
Ah, thank you.
Oh, awesome.
Thank you so much. So there we go. Here's the head.
We have a really massive delay tonight, I think.
Yeah, we do.
I noticed that earlier when we were just getting warmed up.
Here's the eye, and this is going into the neck. So they have these feathers, and I like to make them shorter up here and then go longer, and then it just kind of goes into the body. So practice your little flicking, and if you want, you can use this little round brush. For me, I've gotten so used to using the flat brushes that's what I always go to, is using the thin edge of the flat brush. But if that feels awkward to you, pick this little guy up and just...
Sorry. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
So you want it to be kind of blended in with the body and just a few little short hairs. It's not a big area to work with, so don't overdo it. Plus he's just sort of sitting, so... I think I had maybe a little bit bigger area. Actually, on the original, I kind of had it come out from here. Just keep it small, keep it simple, or keep it off. They can be put down like he's not got them fluffed out. And now for the top of the head, same thing. You can leave them off, or you can... So they're always going to be brushing back. You don't want to go up like a cardinal. They're just sort of brushing back like he's got a little pompadour. A little pompadour hairdo.
Little Jersey Shore. How you doing?
I don't want to overdo it. Again, you can use that little brush if you want. It looks like a cartoon. And now I'm looking at this and I see on the monitor, I want to beef this out just a little bit.
Beef.
Do you remember those two little, were they crows, Heckle and Jekyll?
Yeah.
Yeah, those were fun. Those guys were fun.
I think if you went back and watched that, you would probably not think that's the case. Like that whole
Probably
thing,
a lot of inappropriate stuff that we don't talk about now.
I want to say that it was very racist.
Oh my. Okay, yeah,
There's a reason why Looney Tunes isn't on regular broadcast TV too much anymore.
We'll post our paintings on the group thread on the community page, so people can see what we've done. These are ones that we've been able to take a lot of time and thought and bring out the skill.
I'm doing mine in oils again this year.
Yeah.
And that's always kind of, every time I do something in oils, I'm like, why do I not paint in oils all the time?
Okay, let's move along. We don't have a huge amount left to do as far as like hard stuff. We've got the adding the colored feathers is a lot of fun. And then we'll add some leaves, refine this branch just a little bit. What I want to do on the branch when I talk about refining it is maybe shade in some dark on the top without trying to make it look too outlined. It doesn't necessarily need it, but there might be some parts that it would look good to have a little shading on the top. So let's take our number 4 brush. We're going to shade the lower part of the beak. So I didn't actually draw a line down the beak. You can see the mouth line there. Instead, I created a dark charcoal gray and brought it up to there. And then I brought in some turquoise through the beak, the top part of the beak, and then it ended up leaving that little line there. So we'll do that. Go ahead and make a dark charcoal gray just with white and black. So it's going to be much more black than white because we don't want it to be too light. Nice dark. Let me just try that. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so let me zoom in to the face. I'll move things around. Move over brushes. I guess it doesn't zoom in further. That's weird.
Yeah, it does. Oh, maybe it doesn't.
Okay, that's good. Actually, this is fine. So we want this to come all the way to the tip, but their upper beak is a lot bigger than the lower, and they do kind of have a permafrown. So you're treating this like you are drawing the line that divides the upper and lower beak, but you're drawing it in gray. My gray is already dried up. Not make enough. And then I don't want to fill it in solid. I want to kind of scratch some color in there. So starting from the tip of the beak, sort of scratch some color in until we get about right when we get to the head. And that looks really quite a bit darker than what I did the original one. So let me lighten it just a little because as I'm looking on the monitor, it's not super visible. So I'm going to lighten mine and just play around with that. Scratch some of the lighter gray in there too. There. About like that.
So I just had a vision
Okay.
of getting pizza from the Drift Inn.
Oh, yeah. Gotta drive all the way 2 hours to the beach.
That's all right. Let's do it. Our kids are adults now. They can cope. Although neither of them have driver's licenses.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. let's before we start adding all the fun stuff to here, I do want to go back to the tree branch. I think it's dried enough. And I'll take my number 8 brush or the number 4 and either black or like a really dark gray.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and start along the edge here. I'm going to wipe off most of the paint off my brush. Start, because we don't want it to be outlined, but we want it to be sharp against the sky. So what I'll do is I'll come across and then maybe in some areas pull down a little bit. Come across. You can even turn your brush a little. I feel like a dark gray works really good here because the black is pretty dark.
It's too intense, baby. It's too intense.
Right under the bird would be somewhat shaded too because he's blocking the sunlight.
I think we should start calling each other pet names.
No, we should not.
I think we should. Maybe not on our live streams, but in person. The couple I golf with all the time, he always calls her Pumpkin, and I think it's so cute because they're like our age.
They're like newlyweds.
They've been together for like 11 years.
Oh, that's newlyweds. So you can create some little scratchy texture here. And that makes the tree branch look a little more stand out, but without being too cartoony, hopefully. I struggle with that a little bit. I am definitely meant to be like a book illustrator because I tend to, as I've complained about before multiple times, tend to make mine a little too illustrative. Straight out of a...
You're probably not the only one, though. I think that you're probably a pretty good representation of...
most people.
A lot of people, yeah. We've been teaching live classes again lately.
Hold that thought. You can always come back in with a little more of your light silvery color. You might have to mix it again, and if any spot ended up a little too harsh, you can dab a little of that on there. But the tree branch looks much better now. Okay, go ahead. We've been teaching live classes, yes.
Yeah, and it's really a reminder, because like when we
last weekend we had 3, didn't we?
Oh gosh, yes. No, we had 2. No, we had 3.
Yeah, because I taught 1 and you taught 2.
Which one did you teach? No, we only had 2.
Okay.
We were gonna have a live stream.
Oh, and then I was sick. That's
Yeah.
what it was. Okay.
And something that's really, we don't get a lot of the actual feedback during the process while we're teaching on YouTube. But one of the things that I've come to realize is people blend.
Blend their paintings a lot.
They want to blend. And sometimes
Natural.
there's a time and place, and that's okay. But there's a lot of times where you really don't want to.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm going to reshape the back of my guy's head. I like the shape of this one's head. You can see this one kind of slopes off a little too soon. So what I'm going to do is add
you guys, I'm fading. I'm doing my
a
best.
little more hair. Maybe you should stop talking.
I'm going to. I'm done.
Okay, so let's make purple. Do I want to make purple first or teal? It doesn't really matter. So purple is made with the colors on your palette that will make purple are obviously the red and the blue. So magenta, cyan. Stir those two together and adjust as needed. If you want a more red-based purple, put more of the magenta in it. Otherwise, more cyan. And then I add just a little bit of white. We don't want lavender, but we want a lighter purple. Let me see if that's about right. Yeah, that's good. That's good. In fact, I think what I'll do is I'm going to make half of this a little bit lighter. But again, not lavender. Lavender would be too light.
You never know.
And then the other half, I'll have it be darker. So, wipe this brush off. I'm going to start with the darker. And let's have a look at that photo again as a nice reference. Where all the highlights are concentrated. Here we go. Let that camera Focus. See all the highlights.
Oh
You can
my
see
goodness.
all the individual feathers there. And we're going to do that all with brush strokes. And you can see there's some on the top of the head. And it's just gorgeous. There's purple and greenish in there. And that is exactly what I wanted to go for looks-wise. So I'm going to use the thin edge of the brush.
So there's this really interesting video out there. It's called Purple Doesn't Exist.
Okay.
And it's really interesting. And so
You can hardly see it on the camera, on the monitor.
here's the theory. So our eyes have rods, right? You've
Yeah.
heard of this, right? And they're red, green, and blue. So we can only observe mixtures of red, green, and blue.
Okay.
But, well, excuse me, we can only
Holding this up.
absorb concentrations of red, green, and blue. So purple doesn't actually
I'm going to make
exist.
it a little later so you can see it.
What
Sorry.
physicists say, I'm sorry, I'm talking too much.
Yeah, you are. You were not going to not talk anymore.
But physicists say that purple doesn't actually exist. It's the absence of green.
Oh, yeah, you were telling me about this.
And so what happens is our brain fills in the absence of green with purple.
Weird. So you guys, I'm going to make my color a little bit lighter because I can see on the monitor it's very hard to see. And I don't know, we have two monitors. I'm not sure which one is...
The lower one's going to be the more accurate
Okay, so
one.
I need to make mine a little lighter because especially as it dries. So I'm just doing quick, short little flicks.
Swish and flick.
Just pretending these are feathers. And I'm going to go just right here on the neck and then start down the chest a little. And here's what I do around the face. I come up with little short ones. See that? Very cool. I love that. And get the top of the head. And these are just short little feathers. They'll have shorter feathers on their heads. And don't worry about overdoing it because we will be able to come back with some black and dumb anything down that's too vivid and overdone. But I mean, the color's really fun, so I don't know that you can necessarily overdo it. It doesn't have to look like a raven would look in nature. It can be done your style. So you can bring a little more purple down the sides and also into the tail. But I do want to keep most of it concentrated up here, just like in the photo. Add a little water to that paint. The longer feathers here in the chest area, but pretty short up in here.
But not up in here.
Not up in here. Now, I do want to put some of this on the beak. Let me adjust here. So think of this like a highlight. Just a little scratchy, not a lot of paint. Highlight with the purple across the top of the beak. Okay, finish that up, and we'll get some teal mixing in just a second. Marlene, you are our one person online right now. Thank you so much. We've had some people pop in and out. But it is Thursday night. I didn't have super high expectations for participation because it is a work night, darn it. But thank you for being here. Otherwise, we'd be talking to ourselves.
I'm doing my best. I'm fading fast though, guys. Not that it matters. Jenny's teaching.
Maybe
so
you should manifest that you're not fading.
I can't. I got almost no sleep last night.
Okay, I got to remember how to make turquoise. with the colors we have. So it's probably, how did I do it? I think it's just the cyan yellow and some white. But let's see. Let's play around. So take out probably your number 8 brush. Scrape some of that cyan off. Thank you, Marlene. We're glad you could make it too. And let's get some green in there. This makes such a pretty green. Now turquoise is more blue than yellow. So this is a great deep teal. And to make it more of this color, we're just going to add some white to it. And I think a good rule of thumb here is to mix white in half of it and light in half of it.
My raven just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
And you know what? Never mind. I feel like I made mine way too light. So never mind my comment about making half of it. Now I can lighten a small portion of it. So that way I have 2 shades, just like we did with the purple. And they're not all that different. There's not a huge difference between that and that. But I have a lot of paint on my brush from mixing. You can see that giant glob. That's not going to give me any nice thin feathers. So you can either like swipe it on your palette or your paper towel or wash your brush and start over. But redip the tip of the bristles. And we're going to come in with this pretty kind of peacock color. It's a nice addition. And yeah, little short flicks with the brush using the thin edge. So we can mimic those shorter feathers that are up on the chest. Down here, their feathers are going to be much longer. And then on the head, the feathers will be much shorter. And feel free to add a few down in here just to sort of highlight the body a little. And I will get some back here too. You can play around with different brushes too. I'll set this one down and maybe I'll try my number 4. It has a nice sharp edge.
Mine's kind of looking like a kingfisher and a hummingbird. Got drunk one night.
Oh yeah, see this one makes nice, fine, thinner feathers because it's a smaller brush and the bristles were not as frayed as the other. So play around. This would be a good one to use up in here for these little guys.
Like I'm not saying
as many teal. Well, I guess I could.
I'm not saying I don't like
put a lot
mine.
of teal ones.
It just looks a little bit more on the surreal side, we'll call it that.
It's funny, when you do paint animals, I've noticed, you make them very big, which is kind of cool. They're just grandiose. So you must think of animals as like really big and...
They're very important.
They are.
I paint them more for their importance to the world than I do for their actual size.
I see. Okay, I'm going to switch back to my number 8. I don't want to get too fine with the feathers, although you could, if you really like these kind of longer, pointier looking ones, that might be a look that you want to go for. It's not wrong in any way. I'm just, for myself, wanting to use a slightly thicker brush. And then definitely, we want to get some down in here. Now the tail is mostly going to be in shade because of the light source and the branch and everything, so you don't need to put a lot down in there.
This is so kingfisher.
You'll have to show me a picture of a kingfisher. And then I'm going to wipe my brush off so I have just barely any paint on it. It hardly looks like there's any on there at all. And this is where I'll highlight. You can see there's paint on it. It's coming out. And I'm going to scratch on. I'm saying scratch on because I don't want a full-on brush stroke. I want to see black beneath it too. We're going to scratch on some of this teal color on the beak, and I used the darker teal, and then I could use the lighter teal, which isn't a whole lot lighter, to get like really the top edge, so you get a little bit brighter highlight right there where the sun would be hitting.
I totally painted a kingfisher, except for the beak.
Totally different color.
I know, but the shape, body shape, is spot on.
I think on mine, like the beak technically could probably arch up a little bit more. Like, see, this one really arches up a lot. And I think the raven's they do have kind of a very intense beak. I wonder why. What do they eat?
Carrion.
Okay, so they gotta have something that crunches down hard. So yeah, I wouldn't want to be a carrion, get trapped in that beak. But if
You
you
know
want
what carrion
to,
is?
is it like roadkill?
Yeah.
Okay, I think what I'm gonna do, just for fun, so you can see what it would look like, I'm gonna gradually beef the beak out, and which means I'm gonna have to come back and re-highlight some of it. In fact, I'm going to mix a little water with my paint. Yeah, so I guess the carrion don't care. All right. Now,
The
we
carrion's
could-
time for carrying is past.
Carrion's time for carrying is past. So this is where, when I developed this painting, I sat and thought I could go really colorful with this, like we've done in the past. You know, we've done our colorful lion, we've done our cosmic bear. So you could add other colors. You could add some yellows in here. If you really wanted to play up the rainbow look, you absolutely can. But I'm going to keep it the way it is, but I'm going to show you how you can see how vivid this one is compared to this one. And that is because I came back with black on the same brush I used, so my number 8 brush or your number 4, either way. And I brought some black back in there. Same way we added all the others, and that's only just to break things up a little bit, and only if you feel it's necessary. And this is something you can always go back and just alternate between the colors. You just want to let, if you're putting black on like I am right now, and you're planning on coming back and putting a little more teal back in or a little more purple, you'll want to let that black dry because they'll smear together. And any part you want to make the feathers a little more ruffly, like he's got some excess stuff going on here. You absolutely can, but be careful because it's really easy to make an oopsie. But now's a great time, while we're letting the black we just added on dry a bit, now's a great time to get the feet going. And I kept them simple because I didn't want to make it really difficult, but I also wanted it to look kind of painterly. And I really like the way that these ended up highlighted. And you can look at them and think, oh yeah, they're bird talons. But they're not like completely detailed with all the little lines and things that their feet would have. They're kept simple but painterly. So they really just claw over that branch, and there's 3 claws. And I'm going to use black, probably my number 4 brush, but if you feel more comfortable drawing with the pointy brush or a round brush, feel free to do that. Just using black, and he's got his legs tucked up and the feet are just coming right out of the feather area. So I had to extend them the first time because I didn't make them quite long enough, and they ended up looking like he had these tiny little like robin feet. So when I went back and made them quite a bit larger, that's when it started to look right.
They have large talons.
I try to make them so they're not exactly the same. That's a trap that's easy to fall into. I've done it so many times. So like maybe this one's going to come a little more straight out. That one sort of hooks in.
They kind of look like a trident.
Maybe this one will bend in. Yeah, they're like a trident. Yeah, maybe this one has like a deeper bend. This one's broken. Oh, no. And those are going to get highlighted, but for now, they need to dry.
Looks
I
like the
wonder if they
Monster
have-
Energy logo.
Yeah, it does. I wonder if they have little webbing between.
No, they're not a swimming bird.
Yeah, but neither are dogs, and they have little webbing between their. You ever felt their paws? They've got like little webbing between their claws.
Yeah, I don't think most birds do. They might. I don't know.
Yeah, he's kind of spooky right now. He's just kind of spooky in general. But I think part of what makes him that way is that really white eye. So this is dry, and so I can go back and get my teal highlight back in that part where I kind of gave him an extra bump on his beak. And if you want to paint a nostril in there, I didn't on that one, but it would be black and probably right back here. Not necessary, but you can absolutely do it. Now, so that I don't lose the eye, look at the difference. One is just, it's black, but it's highlighted. Come on, camera, focus. There we go. You can see the eye is black, but it's got a little highlight around it, so that's how you see it. And it has a little highlight in the eye. I'm going to use my tiniest brush, and I'll use the teal color, either one, probably the lighter one for me. It's just a slightly bit lighter. And let me zoom in. And I'll go around the top edge, like we're just putting a little line of blue eyeliner. And it's going to come around the back and just part way under the bottom. And we'll let that dry, and then we'll color the eye in black, and we'll be left with this eyelid. And we'll put a highlight. Actually, let's do a tiny bit on the front too. I can see I did that. I didn't want to do it all the way around, although you probably could. I just felt like it might look too outlined. Okay. Zooming out again. Let's work on some leaves real quick, and then we'll get back to the bird and get him all finished up, and then we will be finished. The leaves are very simple. If you did the owl with me that matches this one, the autumn owl had, I think it had more refined leaves, and I purposely wanted to do these Paul style. And you know, I thought about you, and I was like, how would Paul do leaves? I'm going to do the leaves how Paul would do them. Just so that I am breaking out of the habit of making everything.
Well, thank you.
Making everything overly perfect and detailed. We don't need perfect shaped leaves. These might be blowing in the wind and they're blurry, and we don't know what kind of leaves they are.
All we are is dust in the wind.
We just know by the colors that they're fall. We don't know what kind of leaves they are, though.
We don't need to.
Nope. They're squiggly little leaves. So let's make orange. Let's make a nice vivid orange. So we're going to do the magenta and yellow. I got a little teal in there, but that's okay. Everybody can play. And how about let's get a little yellow ochre in there just to tone things down a bit. But a nice vivid fall orange. Now this is not going to be a pumpkin orange. It's more of a kind of old vintage 1970s Volkswagen orange.
The the donut shop had pumpkin spice donuts, by the way.
It's pumpkin spice orange. That's what it is. Everything has pumpkin spice. Like people have pumpkin spice everything now. I feel like it's a little overdone, but that's okay. Okay, so for the leaf shapes, I've got a lot of paint on the brush, so it's really blobbed out, and I thought, let's think like Paul. Would we use the little brush? No, we would not. We would use this bigger brush.
You never know.
And I just do this funky little shape that's thicker at the top, and then it goes down to a point. So it's like a little ruffly shape, and then I'm going to just loosely fill that in. And I can do one up here too. And I'll get one over here too. And if you want to make different colors, like maybe you want one of these to have a little more yellow in it. Look at that. I can add some yellow on any of these. And I feel like I want one more, so I'm going to put one right here. Very simple. This one I ended up with a little bit more magenta on my brush by accident, and I like that. I like having the little extra pop of more red on there. I feel like this one wants to be bigger. Maybe it's going to curl in a little, like a little gnome hat. And then what I did here is while everything was still wet, I mixed some black in with my leaf color. So mix it in so it turns dark brown, because this is not, right here, this is not black, it's dark brown. And I just did a kind of simple shading. First I did a line down the center of the leaf. And everything's wet still, and it works just fine, because we don't need a big, dark, solid line there. And then I just thought of it as shading, not outlining. Came around on one side. Maybe you could put a little on the other side, but try to avoid outlining the entire leaf all the way around, unless you want that look. I just feel like dabbing some dark color on some of the edges is a nice touch. This is so very Paul.
Is it?
Yeah, look at the way the leaves are. That's totally how
That's
you
totally
paint.
me.
There, I actually really like those. A lot. And then it keeps our bird as the focus, and the leaves are just sort of secondary, and you can play around with those leaves. You can add more yellow after they dry a bit. You can detail them if you want, but I purposely wanted to keep them a little less detailed. So here's what we're aiming for, and here's what we got. Those of you guys just tuning in, I did change the direction of my little twiggy branches because I had established that the tree trunk is over here, and it didn't make sense for the little twigs to be growing towards the tree trunk. So we changed it up on the fly. Okay, let's go ahead and highlight the feet now. Very simple highlights. Have a look. We've got 2 shades of purple. Let me zoom in here. There you go, 2 shades of purple. We've got this dark kind of violet color, and then a lavender for some of the curved areas of the talons that would grab the sunlight. So
I still want to know if the talons are sharp. I still want to know if the talons are sharp.
Do they have sharp? Do the chickens have large talons? Isn't that what the word is? Napoleon Dynamite. Do the chickens have large talons? Such a weird line. Okay, blue.
Everything about that movie is weird.
Magenta. It is so weird, but it's like got such a. I remember my cousin saw it when it first came out, and she's like, "You have to see Napoleon Dynamite." I'm like, "What? That movie looks weird." And then I watched it. I was like, "Oh my god, I love this movie. It's so weird."
Which cousin was that?
Shireen.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I have got my dark purple, and we add just a little bit of white to it, not to make lavender, but to make just a slightly lighter dark purple.
It's funny because I have a friend who asked me what was funny about it, and I'm like, if you don't get it, you just don't get it.
Yeah, some people won't get it.
Like,
you just don't get it.
You either get it or you're not. You don't.
Okay, so now using this dark purple, this is our base highlight. Go ahead and dab it on in little sections. So I'm breaking up the lines. I'm not doing like a full, I don't need to redraw the talent. It's already drawn, so I'm just doing some little broken up highlights. Kind of looks like a sandworm from Beetlejuice, actually. Oof. With the purple and black stripes.
That might be a fun painting to do.
That would be really fun. I wonder if we can do that, though. Probably
I mean,
not.
we can do it. We just have to change it.
Let me call Tim Burton. Yeah, it's not called a sandworm. It's called a dust wiggly thing. A dust slug.
Decomposed granite millipede.
Okay, now let's get the lighter, more lavender highlights. Bada bing, bada boom, real sky in the room. Daniel has arrived. Well, Daniel, we're just about done with this painting, but it's okay. You can come in for the comedic relief. Okay, so I'm taking my littlest brush now, and I'm going to lighten up. You don't need to lighten
You basically
the
just called Daniel C-3PO.
How so?
Just the comedic relief.
So we don't need to lighten the whole pool of this color, just a little bit. And mixing paint, you get a large glob of paint on your brush, so you'll want to pull and twist, knock off the excess, and then redip the tip of the bristles. And then let's come in with the ultra highlight. So that is the lavender, and you can put that any spot that you might think of having like a little shine. Like these areas that are bent down here are probably not going to have access to the sunlight as much as these top areas would. But that's all I'm going to do, because I don't want the feet to stand out too much. So let's have a look and see. Do they stand out too much? No, and in fact, as that paint dries, it's going to dry just a little bit darker. So I feel like they do blend in with the branch enough. And that is what birds are all about. They're all about blending in. Like, especially like as I've been painting a lot of owls and other birds, it's like they are just basically designed to blend in with the tree.
I'm done.
Ravens, though, I don't know. Let's color the eye in black.
The only reason I'm done is I'm just...
The raven looks like it's silently judging me for being late. Yep, it is definitely. It's silently judging all of us. So fill the eye in with black with your little brush. I guess I got to zoom back in. Woo, we're just taking you on a ride here.
I like to...
What?
I was going to do magic carpet ride, but I just like inhaled some really bad alcohol.
Okay. So I feel like this is something that I could thin out from the top edge. We don't need a thick highlight. They have these tiny little eyelids that just the light catches them just a little bit, enough to where you can see the eye amidst all this black. So thinning it out is definitely good if you can. It's hard because it's such a small area. But you just really need a thread of that eyelid showing. And then.
Mine's
You
so
can,
Kingfisher.
so remember I had us go back and we added black to the chest. I'm letting the eye dry for a few minutes. So this is where if you want to come back with more of your turquoise.
Turquoise?
Turquoise.
I just sounded
You don't need a lot of paint.
Did you hear that? I just sounded like my Uncle Ken.
So if you're going to add more turquoise, I would think of it like maybe pick an area where the sun is, like right here would actually be
I want to do a public...
ideal, because I kind of created the sunlit forest here. So technically, I could come in and put quite a lot of this highlight color in here.
I want to do a real quick public service announcement.
Okay.
If you guys ever see this at the store...
Avoid it. It's so sweet.
It is so bad, but it's 12% alcohol. So if your intention is to get lit, go for it.
Get lit and paint.
If you want to enjoy the flavor, do not go for it.
Okay. So yeah, any other color you want to add back
like
in
that.
here right now is great. If you want to go back and add more purple. If you decide you want to try out pink. Actually, I didn't even think about adding pink. You could take and mix the magenta with white. How about I do that? Because I already have one that's this color, like we just did. And I can see where I attempted to put some pink on that original. I just can't remember doing it. I had a really bad cold this week that apparently everybody has.
You're hearing me. I'm demonstrating
Paul's got it too.
I'm demonstrating it for y'all.
So my memory might be a little fuzzy. But anyway, I don't want a super light pink because we don't want it to be like suddenly we've got this bright, vivid streak of color going on here amidst the darker, more rich jewel tones. So I'm going to try out like a raspberry smoothie type color. Sorry, I mixed my paint off camera. And I'm going to wipe the brush off, then redip the tip of the bristles and pick up just a little bit. And let's see. Oh, that's nice. I do like that.
I want to dip my
And
brush.
actually, the teal. Just stop trying to talk. The teal is still a little wet, so it's mixing a little, and that's good. It's toning it down even more. Where to put it? That's the question. So I like to concentrate sometimes on the outer edges, but it just sort of adds to that overall rainbow iridescent effect that birds have, blackbirds.
Except for starlings.
Except for starlings. And you could even add a little on top of the beak, like the extra little highlight in there, maybe a little on the head tuft. But that's fun. Let's have a look at what it looks like with and without. So without, although I can see I thought about it, and with. A little nice addition. We like color. You don't need to be afraid of color. We love it. Now let's add the highlight to the eye.
I'm done.
So you've said that several times.
I know, but I'm really done now.
So it's just a little dot back in the upper sort of right corner of the eye. And I used the teal color if you have some left on your palette. White is maybe a little too harsh and might stand out too much. So I just matched the color of the eyelid, which was the teal. And just do a little, there we go. Move this out of the way. My paper towel itself is a work of art. Check that out. For sale if anyone wants it. Okay, here's the original up next to, oops. I gotta hit that zoom out button. There's the original with the new one, and very similar, but also some little differences. Very happy with both of them. It actually turned out very, very close. I like the addition of the pink. That was good. Are you ready to show yours, Paul?
My kingfisher?
Yeah, so Paul made a gigantic bird.
It's still not as big as a regular one. Like, I actually really like my painting. Even he's a little derpy, but like my tree branch. Like, look up at the monitor. That tree branch is pretty fantastic.
The tree branch is really nice. He's really big boned.
He's not fat. He's big boned.
He's kind of like one that got like
He's
squished
really
and pulled.
he's
Squished
really
and pulled.
hunkered down.
That's fun though. Look at that. I actually really like the way you did the eye, and I like the what is it? That raven poops. It'd be a poopadactyl. Oh my gosh, yeah, it's a ravenadactyl.
It's pretty big.
He's like the ancestor of this raven.
I feel like his head is about the right size, but his body's way too small.
Yeah, actually, you're right. Yeah, like I said, he kind of looks like he's been, you squished him to fit him on the canvas. I see what you did there.
Yeah. He's really hunkered down for the rain.
Thank you, Marlene. I can't wait to see yours. You're becoming such a good painter. It's amazing. I love to see it. Nice. Oh, yeah, you have some leaves up here, too.
I know. I was losing focus by then.
I got to sign mine still, but you guys, when you're done, go ahead and sign yours, or you can add a little baby raven now that you know how to shape them out. Pretty easy to draw. What is happening there?
I don't know. There we are. We're back. Okay, let's come back.
They're pretty easy to draw. It's
Here
just
we are.
like the oval head, the rounded body, and add the tail.
We're on screen.
Yeah, we are. So we probably will be live streaming on Sunday evening. We've got to take our son to a train museum during the day, and so
For the second time in a week.
Yeah, I was sick the first time, so Paul had to bring him, and
Don't say I had to bring him.
well,
That
yeah,
makes
I
it
mean,
sound like
I
it
don't
was a
mean
chore.
I don't mean that way. I mean, you had to go without me.
Yeah.
So
Yes, the
he
one
really
near
likes the
Umsey.
routine of the whole family going. Yeah,
Yeah.
the 1 year Umsey. So we are all going to go, and it's kind of cool. It's an old train museum that's actually, the museum itself is fairly new.
Yep.
And it's all run by old men volunteers that are super nice.
Yeah, Hayden likes to go there a lot as well. And like, I'll give you an example. We walked in the other day, and there's a greeter there, and the greeter's like, "First time to the engine house?" I'm like, oh no.
We're like 30th time.
Yeah, we usually try to go like twice a year, but we should go more.
Yeah, they run a Christmas train that he likes to film, and
They
yeah,
have.
it's funny because he doesn't actually like to ride the train.
No, he
He'd
just
rather
likes
film
to
it.
see him.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys actually want to like check, like, do a fun little Google thing, look up Engine 4449.
Yeah.
It is the coolest train
It's
I
the
think I've ever seen.
Daylight Express. You can also
Yeah.
just Google the Daylight Express train.
And to give you an idea, it's like, it's been in movies.
Yeah.
And it was actually one of the
It was in a movie with Kirk Russell, but I can't remember. It's like something guys.
Yeah, I can't remember what
Bad
it was called.
Guys or I can't
No,
remember.
it was anyway. But then it was in 1976. It was one of the 2 Freedom trains that was painted red, white, and blue to celebrate the bicentennial, and it's a really cool, like, It was the very last generation of steam trains, and it's totally Art Deco.
Yeah.
You know,
It's cool. It's huge. Like if you stand next to the wheels,
the
they're
wheels. I'm 6'1", and the wheels are 6 foot.
Yeah, they're huge.
There's 6
and
of
you
them.
can hear the train. Like they don't run it very often because our Amtrak system, they would share the same tracks, and Amtrak thinks it can't get fast enough. But the old men, they're like, no, we've had it up to 80 miles an hour.
No,
before.
they've hit 100 miles an hour with it before.
So
back in the day, because they raced it with the big boy.
yeah, but you can hear it coming from miles away. It's so loud, but it's so cool. It's like you get goosebumps as soon as they blow the horn. And our son is on the autism spectrum, and he just loves trains. That's his hyperfixation, and I think we all got behind that because they're super cool. We've learned so much.
and that one in particular, like, I feel like we're really lucky to have that one right here in Portland, because it is one of the most unique. It looks like, you see it and you're like, it is muscle.
It's muscle.
It is pure muscle, and it's enormous. I think it's like 110 feet long with the coal car. So I mean, you put it in perspective, that's really big.
It's huge. It has a whole Wikipedia page. You can see how much it weighs, how many tons it weighs, and all kinds of stuff.
It's amazing. And like, I'm not like a train person, but I still get pretty, like, every time I see that one in particular, I'm always like, this is amazing.
There's a newer Omnimax movie that was, it's called Train Time, that Hayden and I we went to the Omnimax theater and watched it, and that was super cool. So, yeah,
all
there's
right,
your little train talk.
There's our geek out moment. But yeah, that's part of our life, and it's, one of those things that, like, I never thought twice about trains until I had a son who was autistic and really into it, and I'm like, I get it, they're really cool.
Now we all know all about them.
Yeah.
But not as much as Hayden.
No, not as much as Hayden.
So we will plan on seeing some of you guys on Sunday, and we'll do an announcement. If you haven't joined our Facebook group yet, it is Palette Knives Out Artcast community page, and I think you have to request to join, and we'll add you in.
And I've noticed that we don't ever post on our regular Facebook page.
Not a lot.
I think the last time we posted in there was May.
Yeah. We don't get a lot of return, like, conversation on that page like we do on the community page. So we save most of our posts for the community page.
We do.
So anyway, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night. And if you work tomorrow, happy Friday. Hope you have a great weekend until we see you Sunday.
Yeah. And I know what I'm going to paint.
Good deal.
So don't worry about that. It's all right here.
All right. We're going to sign off, and we will see you guys later.
We're out. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.